Namaste, dear and respected friend. Thank you so much for your kind participation in today's GSDS Forum Weekly Dialogue. It gives me a great sense of honor and respect to all our friends to join GSDS Forum Weekly Dialogue. I welcome Professor Kumar Giri as a resource person of today's session, Dr. A.K. Merchant Sahab, Professor H.S. Preek, Professor Meera Chakrabarti, Sudhir Gandotra ji, Ram Mohan Rai ji from Gandhi Global Family, Vijaylakshmi, Nadar ji, and all friends co-present here. Today we are going to talk about very important issues, which is a kind of theme for our World Peace Festival, I would say, that is a call to conscience, defending freedom and human rights. Nations from Parliament of World's Religion, Chicago 2023. And we know Chicago's conference because of a great inspiring, I would say, a speech of Swami Vivekananda, who has started the very interfaith dialogue among civilizational dialogue, I would say. And Vivekananda has stated that freedom is the first condition of human growth in society. If there is no freedom, that society cannot grow. So, thinking about the very theme of the conference, it gives me a great sense of respect to Swami Vivekananda. And in the very invocation, he said that it has shown that every religion can make a stand in the world of thought and has set people to thinking that the Lord is working everywhere. So we got a lot of response from our respected participants about this very topic, and we know thousands of people around the world has gathered in Chicago this August to engage in very creative, critical dialogue on how faith communities can further the cause of peace, the cause of justice, sustainability, with a special emphasis on our theme this year, a call to conscience, a call to consciousness, defending freedom and human rights. So first, I would feel a very great sense of respect for all of you who has accepted our invitation. And I extend a very warm welcome to our respected Honorable nurturer of Gandhian School of Democracy and Socialism, Professor Kumar, Professor Nandkishore Acharji, Professor Jayant Tomar ji, and all friends co-present here. So first, let's invite Professor Kumar Giri, who was participant of this festival, to share some of his reflections on the very theme of today's GSDS Forum Weekly Dialogue. So Ananta bhai, over to you.
Thank you. Shukran, Todaroba, and Salam, Salamu Alaikum, Sat Shri Akal, Om Namah Shivaya, Randhir, Sudhir Bhai, Professor Anand Kumar, and Dr. Martin, and all friends co-present. The Parliament of Religion, feeling the living presence of Swami Vivekananda, is a place of wonder and wonder. Wandering, Wandering. Swami Vivekananda joined this as a wandering monk. And my respected friend, Dr. Marchant, would probably feel the same pulse that when I met him, that we also had a bit of the wandering monk in both of us, as we also went together to a beautiful place of worship in 2018 Parliament in Toronto. After the Parliament, both Dr. Marchant and myself, we visited a beautiful shrine, a hour drive from Toronto. I wish to invite us to join the Parliament as a living consciousness with a spirit and invitation of wonder and wandering, beginning with a poem called God as a Scout, Feet Becoming Wings. Oh, when did you start wandering? When in my feet I heard the call of wings. My feet became wings, wings of experience and imagination, a traveler treading the roads and swimming the rivers and oceans of life. Not only a pilgrim, but a scout. God becomes a scout, not only purifying the tirthas, but turning them around as a smasana and udyana, gardens and cremations for new wings of phonics, regeneration, and transformation. In a way, the journey with the parliament is not just that of a pilgrim, but as a scout who is engaged in an adventure of wandering and wandering. And one of the common experience that I had, both from the leaders, and this time the chairperson was Mr. Nitin, who comes from a Jaina tradition, and others, is that even compared to 30 years ago in 1993, when the participants felt much more their participation as representing their religion. Now, this parliament in 2023 was different. Here we are participating, not just representing our religion, but a call where we are part of a wider confluence, Sangam. Therefore, the theme of the parliament, a call to conscience, defending freedom, human right, the whole notion of conscience then is not just an extension of our own in-group sense of conscience. All religion has a sense of in-group and out-group, the boundaries, but what Ambedkar calls public conscience. Therefore, a call to conscience here is in fact a call simultaneously individual conscience and public conscience. And this journey with public conscience was embodied through varieties of panels on friendship, on war, on the examples of heroes and martyrs from all religious traditions. For example, one of the heart-touching sessions that I joined was on a session on examples of martyrs from traditions, which included a very important, presentation of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the great, theologian and person of religion and objector to Hitler's Nazism, who was executed by the Hitler regime. And also there was a very important presentation by our dear and respected friend, Professor Ori J. Soltes from Georgetown University on Fatehullah Gulen and the Hizmat movement. As it happens that I was able to spend the night with Professor Soltes last night, waiting for him to pick me up at 10:30 in the night, sitting on the road and waiting for him to come. And in a humble way, I was feeling the spirit of Swami Vivekananda, as in 1893, after Chicago, he traveled around and he must have also waited by the street. And that is the sense of humble wandering that the parliament invites us to continuously embody. Let me not forget to mention another memorable experience from the parliament is that in 2018 parliament, I met Swami Agnivesh. I'm sure Dr. Marchant would also remember the Swami Agnivesh plenary talk, where without any fear, he left no word to say that religion is not an excuse for fundamentalism and annihilating the other. He spoke it right from, and in the parliament, the group like Hindus for Human Rights were active in Toronto, and therefore the parliament has been a place of conscience in this way, struggle for freedom, struggle for right. This parliament also included many sessions on the war in Ukraine. One session that I attended to was nurtured by another very important group called Omnia, OMNEA, which is nurtured by a theologian and activist from Sri Lanka, Santa. And Santa has been present in Toronto as well as Salt Lake City, Utah. Like Dr. Marchant, I have at least shared 3 parliaments starting from Salt Lake City, Utah, the parliament began with a session on Divine Mother, Mother Goddesses. And the 2018 parliament began with the opening of the indigenous religious traditions, for example, Native American religions. These are very important shifts in the dynamics of Parliament of World Religions. So therefore, this parliament brought many people. I was present in the session on peace in Ukraine, where one of the pastor from the Peace Cathedral in Georgia, Siblish, he came, I met him, I heard him, and he was saying that, well, in the early days, the children's drawing were so traumatized, but slowly children of Ukraine, and he has worked with them, how they are moving, with a sense of hope. And another thought, another very important experience in the parliament is that in the main plenary hall, there were many important cultural programs, many joiner dances. And the joiner presence is not only in terms of dance and Nitin, the chairperson from the joiner path, but this whole spirit of Anekantavada. And what I call is not just Anekantavada, but Anekanta Patha. Gandhi himself has said that I am a practical Anekantavadi, a practical Syadavadi. So the parliament, in a small way, is a reflection of a practical Anekanta Patha. And the plenary, the big hall, brought many people, and it was nice to listen to them, including in the last day, or maybe the last day, brought Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend Jesse Jackson, and in fact, the parliament struggle for public conscience is not isolated from struggle for freedom on the part of Afro-Americans. Chicago is not just famous for Swami Vivekananda's visit, but Chicago is a place of struggle for racial justice. And Jesse Jackson, 60 years ago, as a comrade in arms with Martin Luther King Jr., living on in the slums, he has this sentence that I am born in the slum, but the slum is not living in me. And another profound challenge of Jesse Jackson is I am somebody. And I must not forget to mention, as I'm talking about Jesse Jackson, is after the parliament, I was working in the University of Chicago, and I was remembering Professor Anand Kumar. I would have thought how he was working in the lawns maybe 40, 50 years ago. So Jesse Jackson made a public appearance. Just nice to see him. He's now in the wheelchair, and his speech is not that pronounced, but therefore the parliament is a place of public conscience, honoring the icons of struggles like Jesse Jackson. And finally, what happens when the parliament happens in America? In 1993, the parliament got revived with the parliament in Chicago. It has moved around. But many people felt that in Toronto, many people outside North America, brothers from sisters from Asia, Africa could come in, but not in Chicago because of visa restrictions and all these things. So therefore, the parliament is an invitation for us to engage with the theme of faith, religion, secularity in ever transforming ways. But not to forget that that in all parliaments, our body and mind and soul was nurtured by the langar, you know, in which brothers and sisters from the Sikh community, they helped us to have our food together. In the parliament itself, I met many interesting people, including one women rabbi from America who is a rabbi in Birmingham, and just speaking with her, meeting other friends. So the parliament then becomes the parliament of heart, where our journey continues with and beyond the parliament. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Ananta bhai. As usual, very, very deep in your presentation. Now I request Vijaylakshmi Nadarji. She is a very deep, active journalist, and she has very, very deep insight on political and cultural issues. She is also a political activist, and she has also participated World Peace Conference. Now I request Vijaylakshmi Nadarji to share some of her reflections of World Peace.
Because we're here, the professor before me has already given an overview of the parliament, the way it fanned out. I want to speak a little about the specific that happened. Last, I'm a journalist for those people who do not know me here. I'm basically a journalist. I've been a journalist for over 2 decades now. And now that I am in the US, since 2016, I have been watching the growth of Hindutva in the US. And that, as a journalist, concerns me as a lot. Not just as a journalist, but also as a person who follows the Hindu faith. The professor before me also mentioned Swami Vivekananda. The way Swami Vivekananda was associated with this parliament was when he introduced Hinduism to the world through this conference. This was in 1893. I thought, since we are back in Chicago, where Swami Vivekananda made that famous speech, I should draw parallels between what's happening in the Hindu religion now and the way he introduced to the world. I had prepared a small speech to speak there to introduce to the people there what's happening in India right now. Because that is my concern. The way Hindu religion, a very peaceful spiritual religion, is actually being twisted with the Hindutva. It's been injected poison by the Hindutva philosophy, and just as there is no concern between ISIS and Hindus and Muslims, in the same way, I want to tell the world that there is no comparison between Hindutva and Hinduism. That has been my work for the last 7 years almost now. So before I start speaking about this speech that I had at the parliament, so this was the whole idea that Hinduism should be projected the same way that Swamiji wanted the world to know us, not the way Narendra Modi, RSS, BJP is trying to project to the world today. So this is what I had said. A tall, dark-skinned and stately monk from India, Swami Vivekananda, in September 1893, had won hearts at the inaugural Parliament of World Religions when his rich Indian voice echoed in the auditorium of the Parliament of World Religions. He had then introduced Hinduism to America and called for religious tolerance and an end to fanaticism. But over the years, especially after 1999, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak has sought to appropriate not just Swami Vivekananda but also the teachings of Hinduism to give it a political communal color, calling it Hindutva. RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat at the 150th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's historic address in Chicago had stated that it was Swamiji who introduced Hindutva to the world. Nothing could be further from the truth. The term Hindutva was coined by the RSS when it was established in 1925. Though Hindutva means essence of Hinduism, the political connotations of both RSS and Hindutva is dangerous, venomous, and communally charged. The difference between Hinduism as advocated by Swami Vivekananda and the RSS can be best enumerated by the quotes of the Swami and the RSS chief. At one of the six speeches that Swami Vivekananda gave in Chicago in 1893, he stated, come up, O lions, and shake off the delusion that you are sheep. You are souls immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies. Matter is your servant, not you, the servant of matter. On the other hand, the RSS chief said at the 125th anniversary of the Swami's anniversary that if a lion is alone, wild dogs can invade and destroy it. So he was trying to project, the other religions, Muslims and Christians, as enemies of Hindus. He's trying to project that Hindus are the lions, the rest are all wild dogs. While Swami Vivekananda emphasized the positive aspects of all beings and the inclusiveness of the religion he practiced, RSS chief exposed the crassness and divisiveness of his Hindutva by asking the Hindus to unite against their perceived internal enemies, Muslims and Christians. This negates everything that Swami Vivekananda stood for, who even stated that I'm proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world about tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe in not only universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true. He also stated, religion is not the crying necessity of India. One of these most moving aspects of his speech at Chicago was sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now. But their time has come, and I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or the pen. Now, this is something which is so surprising that after 200 years we are still talking about the same thing. Who would have known then that the very demands of fanaticism he called out would play out even more intensely in the name of the religion that he practiced by the fanatics who pretend to extol him and yet twist everything he preached to sanitize their own cruel agenda of divisiveness. The RSS, highly influenced by European fanaticism, has since its inception harbored the notion of Hindu nation, even adopting violent means if necessary, contrary to India's secular, inclusive, and peaceful democratic identity. Swami Vivekananda's advice to today's RSS would be, the Hindu must not give up on his religion, but must keep religion within its proper limits and give freedom to society to grow. This brings me to the politics of today's India, where the Vedantic notion of a universal self residing within all of us is being pushed in the background against the notion of a separate and threatening other called Muslims, something which he said a century ago. Now, the thing is, I believe that, if I don't know if all of you know this, but Nivedita Bhide, the vice president of the Vivekananda Kendra from India, was prevented from speaking at this parliament because of her Islamophobic attitude. And you also must wake up to the thing that a lot of Hindutva organizations were present at this parliament, which really dismayed me because they are projecting India and Hinduism in a very, very wrong manner, which will be eventually rejected by the world outside when they wake up to the fact that how dangerous Hindutva is to the growth of the country and to the religion. So, this was for me a platform to talk about this when everybody is trying to look at the good aspects of every religion. I felt that this part of it also should be pointed out, and I think I was successful. Many people appreciated this because like I want to end the speech with this quote. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the leader of the BJP was right in saying that the spirit of his speech, Swami Vivekananda the speech, has the potential to create a more just, prosperous, and inclusive planet. And yet, he's at the crux of becoming an extreme right wing dictator, powering Hindu fanaticism, threatening just not just India, but the rest of the world as well. A complete antithesis of the message that Swami Vivekananda gave to the world at this very parliament in 1893. Now, the thing is, this Parliament of World Religions travels to different countries every 5 years, and RSS is trying to get this Parliament to happen in India the next time. Though it's a privilege for India to host something like this, which is has expanded the world over. My fear is that it will be taken over by Hindutva organizations, which needs to be prevented. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vijaylakshmi Nadar. It was really very insightful, and you are indeed very right, because the whole quest of Swami Vivekananda was a kind of mission for creating and cultivating harmony among the world's religious and spiritual communities, and and we should also think about his quest of fostering engagement to the achievement of a peaceful and just society. So it is a kind of very insightful, and thank you so much for your deep presentation. Now I would like to invite Dr. A.K. Merchantji, who is the National Trustee and Secretary of Temple and Baha'i Committee in India, and he has a very deep engagement with interfaith education and communal harmony issues. So now I request Dr. A.K. Merchant to share some of his reflections.
Yeah, distinguished friends, I've explained, of course, briefly greeted everybody in the chat box that I'm really grateful to you, GSDS, for this invitation. What I've heard from my two preceding speakers, that is Dr. Ananta Giri and Madam Vijaylakshmi Nadar, is also very insightful. For me, when I have attended all the parliaments, even the one it was in 1993 in Chicago. I personally was not there, but we had a parallel national session, so I got all the information because that was represented by our chairman of the Temple of Understanding himself, and there were a lot of other Baha'is, so I did not have to go there. Likewise, the second one in 1999 at Cape Town. Then after that, I have been to all the other parliaments in person at Barcelona, Melbourne, then Salt Lake City, Toronto, and even the virtual parliament in 2021 and this one. So in terms of the series, this was the 9th one, if you take 1893 as the first one. Now, the most important thing for me, when I look at what the parliament does to a person who takes out the time and also registers and spends the money to be part of that gathering of thousands of people. And the remarks of Professor Ananta Giri were very insightful, because in a beautiful manner, he talks about us as pilgrims, as wanderers, as seekers, as those who consider themselves as persons of goodwill. So to me, if the world has to move forward with all these multifarious spiritual and religious streams of thought, what the parliament has succeeded in doing, and each of the parliament had an overarching theme, whether it was to do with the global ethic, the golden rule, which was the prominent aspect of the discussions in the 1993 parliament, or a call to our guiding institutions, or cementing the hearts together, having conversations. The most important thing for me, or the takeaway, is what is the worldview that we, as citizens of the planet, possess. If the parliament succeeds in broadening our horizons, in making us appreciate the reality that surrounds us in terms of the perils that afflict humanity, threatening its very existence on the one hand, and the role of religion. And as we have seen, that parliament does not only address issues of religions or religious discourses, it has become an all-embracing platform where you talk about gender justice, you talk about the rights of the First Nation or the indigenous peoples, you talk about environment and climate emergency, you talk about a host of issues, persecution by the majority, by the minority. So to me, as a Baha'i, and also as an interfaith person representing the Temple of Understanding, which is a interfaith association, I feel that every child must try to have a view, a world view, and only on the basis of the worldview can we move forward. I'm concerned not with the day-to-day clashes and confusion, but as Swami Vivekananda in his speech in 1893, he gave 6 lectures and he presented a very universal perspective of what Hinduism is and what the people of India, the majority population, subscribe to. And that's how, when he addressed the people in the West as sisters and brothers, he was an instant star because he was able to touch their hearts. So if a religion or a spiritual discipline or a belief system does not bring hearts together, does not foster those humanitarian and altruistic principles and virtues which are embedded, which are inherent and intrinsic in every human being, then it is better to be without this label of religion and professing ourselves to be people who are spiritually inclined. So what I heard actually from also Madam Vijaylakshmi is also right, that today it's not simply India, but many countries throughout the world where there is intense polarization. So as a member of the Baha'i community, I believe that humanity is one people and this planet is our homeland. In India also, we every second day we hear the word Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, because as the G20 presidency is coming to a close and the summit gathering is going to be held on 9th and 10th of September, every day Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is invoked in the public media several times. I'm a radio addict and I listen to the radio. And even in the speech, the news readers, they keep mentioning Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and which was interpreted in a new way by our Honorable Prime Minister as one planet, one family, and one future. It's so easy when it's words. But is it really one planet, one family, one future? Is India itself showing this or living by example? Other countries may not be doing it, but India is proclaiming it. But we are not able to really prove it. And the parliament, I know, I went to also several of the breakaway sessions, as well as attentively listened to many of the plenaries. And some of them were very wonderful, including the address by the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. And of course, issues like the war in Europe, about which the Secretary General has said that one misunderstanding or one miscalculation And because of the war in Europe, the Security Board of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, in the month of January this year, they moved the doomsday clock 90 seconds to midnight. I mean, 3 years ago, the clock was 120 seconds. And during the Cuban Missile Crisis, most people might not know, it was 13 minutes. I mean, though the American military and nuclear forces were already on alert, and they sent out open messages to the Soviet Union and the Khrushchev that one misjudgment on your part means first the destruction of the entire Soviet Union and all those who are going to be with you, because I am also a student of the thermonuclear warfare, and I know that even at the height of the powers of Soviet Union, in terms of military strength, they were only 40 to 45% that of the United States of America. Even today, and it's clearly been proved that they may have numbers, they might boast, but in terms of really military, real military strength, they can't do anything. They'll be wiped out within the first 15 to 20 minutes because from the military expenditures that are reported every year, 2022 was $2.2 trillion and $822 billion was that of the United States of America. You take the rest of the 11 countries, put their defense expenditure together, and that will give you a sense of the comparison. But the parliament, there were, both very positive voices, very powerful speeches, but there were also a lot of discordant sounds, jarring notes, so to speak. I'm glad that Professor Ananta Giri was able to attend some of the sessions, but our sessions were focusing on two things. I addressed two sessions. One was on syncretism, which is the Indian tradition, because India has been a plural society, and syncretism should be understood by the children and the youth and all who are people of goodwill, that this is a plural society. There is a space for all, regardless of what religion they belong to or they don't belong to any religion. But India is a confluence of multiple civilizations. And this is what we brought out very clearly in our session on syncretism, which was on the 14th of August. And Dr. Jyotsna, she was also the key presenter for this session. She's the daughter of Dr. Karan Singh, and she is based in Jammu. And Temple of Understanding also promotes this kind of a holistic vision. The second session was on education. Here in the session on education, the Temple of Understanding takes the position of the UNESCO's curriculum framework for the 21st century. And in this curriculum framework, the UNESCO has clearly identified how through education, humanity can be made to live in peace and harmony. How through this educational curriculum framework, major portions of which are also part of the national curriculum framework of many governments around the world. May not be all the 193 member states. So in our presentation, we talked about education at the school level, education of the higher institutions. And one thing we kept on stressing was that education should help us to be able to learn to live together. Education is not simply acquiring or acquisition of information and knowledge for the sake of one's livelihood and job and professions and other things. But education's one important pillar was learning to live together. And this can best be done if we learn to be, because one of the pillars, the four pillars, learning to be. As human beings who are supposed to be the best of all creation as per the scriptures, why are we not able to live in harmony with each other? Why should there be such tremendous amount of destruction? You know, if after the World War II, first of all, they said that World War One was the Great War, and that would be the end to all wars. But in a matter of couple of decades, there was a Second World War, and at the end of Second World War, all the Allied forces, they should have at least had that sense to remain allied. But in a matter of just a few years, the entire world was divided into two blocks: the capitalist bloc led by the United States and the communist or the socialist bloc led by the Soviet Union. Had they managed to live in peace with each other, I mean, this world would have been today a mirror image of paradise. So, in our educational program, we also appreciated the contribution or the framework provided by our National Education Policy of July 2020. Because in that, one of the important components is promotion of global citizenship. It is built into our educational system. Likewise, the universal values of peace, of non-violence, of truth and righteousness, dharma, and also the life skills that are associated with these values. So, if we are sincere, I think sometimes, you know, people may try to project a certain worldview, but if there is lack of sincerity, if there is a lack of, if there is prejudice, that if for you one planet, one family, one future only means that a certain section of the population need to adhere to this, then you have failed. So all these parliaments of world religions where millions of dollars have been spent have tried to create a great deal of awareness, but at the same time, when you probe, when you scratch the surface, you find that there are also very deep fault lines. There are deep fissures, and some of the people whom I have met many times, if I have met them at the Barcelona Parliament and I met them in Chicago Parliament this year, I found that their worldview, their position has remained the same. They are still talking the same language, which is not forward looking. So I think we have to go back to the roots, the grassroots, and look at the takeaways of the parliament. I'm sure thousands of people, they do benefit, but at the end of the day, those who are the arbiters of power and authority, if their worldview is circumscribed, if they have a certain vested agenda, and their whole aim in life or purpose of utilizing the resources at their disposal is to further that agenda, then surely humanity is not going to find any peace or happiness. It's only going to bring
Thank,
us more and more trouble. To me, the Ukraine war is complete stupidity. It could have been very easily resolved, but instead of resolving it, they have decided to push the world to a brink. And let's see what happens. So, I mean, these are my reflections. I enjoyed very much. The Baha'i community also had many sessions, including one that flagged the persecution of the Baha'is in Iran, where the Baha'i faith is the largest minority, but the majority religion of the Shias, they have been persecuting us simply out of their deep-seated prejudice and feeling threatened that the universal teachings of the Baha'i faith of the oneness of our Creator, the oneness of all religions, and the oneness of humankind is going to be the death knell for the Shia Islam, which the rulers or the regime professes. So there is much more I can share. And the theme about persecution was really very, very heart-wrenching, that how even today, on complete foundation, I mean, without any foundations of completely on the basis of falsehoods, innocent people are being persecuted, tortured, their livelihoods snatched away, their children are deprived of education. All of these are happening. And I really pray. There were so many prayer sessions. There was a lot of voices from the indigenous people. They prayed, they danced together, they shared many things. There were so many exhibits and stalls where children were participating. But at the end, I can say that we must look upon religion with new eyes as a system of knowledge, as an outpouring of divine guidance, the way Swami Vivekananda presented Hinduism, that on the principles of Advait, he was able to uh, express a sense of, solidarity and oneness. And whatever may be our belief, but at the end, when it comes to the altruistic teachings, when it comes to the virtues and values and good attributes, they are common to all humanity. And individual relationships are based upon love and forgiveness. But when it comes to dealing with communities, societies, nation states, you need to have laws, you need to have instruments of negotiation, you need to have a foundation of justice and equity. I'm sorry, I may have taken up more
Thank
time,
you.
but if you look at the
No,
$100
thank you.
trillion global economy, then $11 trillion of that $100 trillion economy is in the hands of the religious institutions.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
I mean,
you,
I can go
Dr.
on,
Akam.
but I think I must stop. But again, it was a wonderful experience for me. And though I saw both sides of the debate and discourse, yet I'm concerned that most people in the positions of decision making, including, I also probed into the composition of the Council for the Parliaments of Religions. There are 15 members. Are these 15 members of that board, how united are they? Of course, it's headed today by Mr. Nitin Ajmera, who's from the Jayant background, but other members, and in previous parliaments also have probed into the functioning of the board to see whether all those members of the board, are they united in fostering the common agenda. So a call to conscience, defending freedom and human rights, is a very sensitive topic. And of course, as a temple of understanding and as Indian representatives, we stayed away from all controversies because we don't want to get into that. We are ordinary human beings who believe in doing good for all and who want that all the countries should progress, prosper, and have a bright future, and not at the cost
Thank you.
of any other section of population or any other religious minority, etc., etc. Thank you very much. Very grateful for
Thank you.
you to allow me some time.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Dr. A.K. Merchant Sahab.
Yes.
It was really very, I would say, the healing session. The way you invoke the idea of peace, justice, and harmony. And yes, the weaponization of religion is very, very dangerous thing. And the call for human right and freedom and dignity is very, very important in that way that people are also reacting. And the issues related to democracy are very much important to be discussed in today's context. And the whole danger of authoritarianism. And the danger of authoritarianism was also a kind of theme which was discussed in World Sociological Conference, and that is also discussed in this World Peace Festival. I would say. Now I request Ram Mohan Raiji, who is lecturer of Gandhi Global Family, and he has a very, very deep engagement with harmony and Gandhian thought. Now I request Ram Mohan Raiji to share some of his reflections.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका कि आपने मुझे मौका दिया। मुझसे पहले विद्वान वक्ताओं ने अपनी बात को रखा है और जिस तरह से ना केवल एक तारीफ के लहजे से बल्कि उसका क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस जो किया है वो बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। मैं इतना जरूर कहना चाहूँगा, मुझे निर्मला देश पांडे जी के साथ और स्वामी अग्निवेश जी के साथ, दोनों के साथ अलग अलग तरह से काम करने का मौका मिला। भारत संगठन से मिला, समाज संगठनों से मिला, लोगों से बातचीत करने का मौका मिला जो शिकागो में हैं और मुख्तलिफ धर्मों के हैं, मुख्तलिफ
और तकनीकी खामियां आ रही है। राम मोहन राय जी को दोबारा निमंत्रण देंगे। इसी बीच हमारे साथ सुधीर गंधोत्रा साहब, प्रोफेसर HS ब्रिक साहब, जो आज एक डिस्कसेंट की भूमिका में है। So first I would like to invite Professor HS Brick, who is a kind of inspiring personality for all of us because of his very deep understanding of Sikhism and in the Parliament of World Religion. We have seen how Sikh community for their extraordinary dedication and unwavering support during the 2023 Parliament of World Religion, and their commitment to service and compassion always inspire for all of us, being an Indian also, to serve with a sense of
We enjoyed the langar. I must interject. Every day
Yes,
for
sure.
lunch, I was enjoying the langar hosted by the Sikh community. And not only in this parliament, but also previous parliaments as well. Sat Sri Akal, bahut shukriya, Rab di meher.
Yeah, should I say something?
Sure.
Actually, I kept awake almost from 3 a.m. to finish my research paper, which was due for submission. But I got up at 6:30 again to join you. It is always a pleasure. And of course, I was not prepared to speak and say, because I have been just traveling from to India and Vancouver, where my family lives. So in Toronto conference, I missed. Again, this time I was in California and I was planning to join Chicago. Again, I had to move to Vancouver. Today I'm in Vancouver. So I could not get a chance, but I am very pleased to listen to Professor Giri and Vijaylakshmi and A.K. Merchant. That is the true spirit in which we should work in India. And as you have told, I get so many messages from London. Bhai Mahinder Singh of UK, Birmingham, he is always there in World Religious Conferences. And at Barcelona, even this time in Toronto, the free food or langar has been served. So I don't know what type of presentation has been made by our faith leaders, but I must say that Guru Nanak, he started interfaith dialogues much before other religious leaders. You're going to Makkah, going to Hardwar, and meeting religious leaders of all other faiths. That was the universal message. And my book, I am going back to India to publish my book on Sikh religion and Guru Nanak. So my views are same as Vijay Lakshmi has presented, that India should stay as a secular democracy, and the type of camouflage which our Prime Minister and BJP government is doing, it is just destroying the secular and democratic fabric of Indian society. I really
जी राम मोहन राय जी जुड़ गए हैं हमारे बीच। जी नमस्कार, राम मोहन राय जी जुड़ गए हैं, तो मैं उनसे निवेदन करूंगा कि वो अपनी बात पूरा करें। जी उसके बाद
माफ
हम
करें,
ब्रेक।
मेरा थोड़ा नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम हो गया था, पर मैं चाहूंगा कि मैं अपनी बात कहूं। अपने समय के अनुसार करूंगा, जो मेरा समय टूटा मैं उसको जोड़ते हुए करूंगा। जैसे कि मैंने पहले कहा कि मुझे तकरीबन 15-20 दिन शिकागो में रुकने का मौका मिला, और इस दौरान मैं अनेक संगठनों से मिला, लोगों से मिला, और मैंने ये महसूस किया जिसको मैं प्रस्तुत करना चाहूंगा। हर किसी के लिए विश्व धर्म संसद के मौके पर यहाँ आना, इसमें भाग लेना और अपनी बात कहना सचमुच गौरव की बात है। हमारे भारत में इसे बहुत ही सम्मान की दृष्टि से देखा जाता है, और इसका मुख्य कारण सन 1893 में स्वामी विवेकानंद का इसमें भाग लेकर उनका वह उद्बोधन था जिसने हमारे गुलाम देश के एक अति पुरातन धर्म की व्याख्या को प्रस्तुत किया था। 130 वर्ष पहले दिया गया वह व्याख्यान आज उस समय से भी ज्यादा प्रासंगिक है, जिसे हमें बार बार पढ़ने और समझने की जरूरत है। अफसोस यह है कि हम भारतवासी उसे बिना पढ़े उसकी अपने अपने ढंग से व्याख्या करते हैं। सही मायने में वह भारत, भारतीयता और उसकी उदात्त संस्कृति और सभ्यता का संदेश है। वह संदेश है भारत की उस आत्मा का जिसने मूल मंत्र समानता, भाईचारा और विश्व बंधुत्व है, और जो वर्तमान संदर्भ में लोकतंत्र, धर्मनिरपेक्षता और समाजवाद से संजोए हमारे भारतीय संविधान की व्याख्या करते हैं। स्वामी जी के व्याख्यान के एक भी अंश में संकीर्ण और अंध राष्ट्रवाद का समर्थन नहीं है। यह नए नौजवान भारत का संदेश है। हम 12 जनवरी को स्वामी विवेकानंद को युवा दिवस के रूप में प्रचारित करते हैं, उन्होंने हिंदू धर्म के बारे में बताया, पर क्योंकि हमने पढ़ा नहीं, इसलिए उनके विचारों को हिंदुत्व के राजनीतिक विचार से जोड़ने की कोशिश करते हैं, जो कि स्वामी जी की भावना का कतई सम्मान नहीं। क्या यह अद्भुत साहस की बात नहीं है कि वह युवा सन्यासी इस शिकागो नगर में समुद्र के रास्ते आए थे, यानी कि महीनों पानी के जहाज में कठिन प्रद यात्रा करके। हमें समझना होगा कि विश्व धर्म संसद कोई नियमित वार्षिक अथवा 3 वर्षीय कार्यक्रम नहीं। वर्ष 1893 में इसका पहला आयोजन इस शहर में हुआ था। उसके 100 साल बाद इसका आयोजन यहाँ 1993 में, और तब से अन्य स्थानों पर होने के बाद अब ये 30 वर्षों के बाद अब यह आयोजित हो रहा है। यानी 130 वर्ष के इतिहास में इस संसद के कुल 9 आयोजन हुए। 1893 में शिकागो में, 1993 में फिर शिकागो में, 1999 में केप टाउन में, 2004 में बार्सिलोना में, 2009 में मेलबर्न में, 2015 में सॉल्ट लेक में, 2018 में टोरंटो में, 2021 में वर्चुअल, और अब 2023 में शिकागो। मुझे इस बात का गौरव है कि इस बार की संसद का साक्षी बनने का अवसर मिला, परंतु खेद भी है कि स्थानीय धार्मिक संस्थान और साधारण जनता इसके आयोजन से अनभिज्ञ थी। शुरुआत के 3 दिन में मैं संत निरंकारी मिशन अमेरिका के मुख्यालय में रुका, और वहीं से श्री सनातन धर्म सभा के प्रधान डॉक्टर पी.टी. शर्मा, आर्य समाज के प्रधान, मुस्लिम समुदाय के अग्रणी नेता मेराज अख्तर से भी संपर्क किया, परंतु मुझे खेद है कि हर कोई इस समारोह से अनजान था। बाद में जब इन लोगों से संपर्क साधने की कोशिश की तो पाया कि एंट्री टिकट बहुत महंगा था और उस पर भी रजिस्ट्रेशन बंद हो चुकी थी। स्वामी विवेकानंद के व्याख्यान की वजह से हमारे देश में तो इसकी प्रसिद्धि है, परंतु जहां वह शिकागो में हो रहा था वहां इसकी सूचना नदारद थी। मुझे प्रसन्नता है कि गांधी ग्लोबल फैमिली के कारण मैं इसमें भाग लिया और अपना वक्तव्य महात्मा गांधी के अहिंसक विचार, उनके गुरु श्रीमद रामचंद्र के विचारों को प्रस्तुत किया। परंतु मैं यह भी कहना चाहूंगा कि आम आदमी के लिए ये बहुत ही मुश्किल साधन था। मुझे इस बात की प्रसन्नता है कि इसके अलावा भी अन्य स्थानों पर जो विश्व धर्म संसद में लोग भाग नहीं ले सके या संस्थाएं भाग नहीं ले सकी, उनके कार्यक्रमों में जाने को मौका मिला। और खास तौर से एक सहयोगी संस्था सैटरडे फ्री स्कूल फिलाडेल्फिया के साथियों ने वहां जो आयोजन किया, जेम्स मॉरिस लॉसन के सम्मान में, क्योंकि जेम्स मॉरिस लॉसन ने इसमें भाग लेना था परंतु वे इसमें भाग नहीं लेता है, उसमें भी मुझे हिस्सा लिया। और मुझे इस बात का बहुत खेद है, और हमारी बहन विजयलक्ष्मी ने इस बात को कहा है कि हमारे देश से जो हिंदुत्व के परोकार गए हुए थे, जो हिंदुत्व के नेता गए हुए थे, हिंदू धर्म की व्याख्या करने के लिए गए थे, वे एक विचारधारा से संबंधित थे और उन्होंने हिंदू धर्म की जिस संकीर्णता के साथ व्याख्या की, उसका प्रस्तुत किया, वो बड़े ही शर्म की बात है। स्वामी जी ने अनेक स्वामी थे वहां, उन्होंने तो अनेक आयोजन थे, पूरे अमेरिका के अंदर उनके कीर्तन थे, व्याख्यान थे, उसमें हिस्सा लिया और फिर यहाँ आकर के भाग लिया। धर्म संसद का जो मुख्य व्याख्यान है और उसके अंदर फॉर द कॉन्शियस डिफेंडिंग फ्रीडम एंड ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स के साथ साथ वर्तमान अधिनायकवाद की चुनौती के खिलाफ की धार्मिक भूमिका भी रही। ये विषय बाह्य तौर पर तो बहुत ही प्रभावित करता है, परंतु इसके भीतर यूरोप के दूसरे क्षेत्र में रूस और यूक्रेन में छिड़ी जंग भी है, जिनमें यूक्रेन नाटो का प्रतिनिधि बनकर लड़ रहा है। अब ये लड़ाई इस दौर में पहुंच चुकी है कि अमेरिका भी इससे आज ही जा चुका है। इस शहर में आने पर देखने को मिला, हर सरकारी गैर सरकारी इमारत पर अमेरिकन राष्ट्रीय और प्रांतीय झंडे के साथ साथ यूक्रेन का झंडा भी लहरा रहा था, जो अमेरिका की यूक्रेन युद्ध के प्रति समर्थन और सहयोग का प्रतीक है। जबकि इस लड़ाई ने अमेरिका और यूरोप को बहुत ही कठिनाई में डाल दिया है। यही कारण है कि पूर्व राष्ट्रपति डोनाल्ड ट्रंप डेमोक्रेटिक पार्टी में वर्तमान राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन के मुकाबले में भूतपूर्व राष्ट्रपति जॉन एफ कैनेडी के भतीजे जूनियर कैनेडी और एक अन्य निर्दलीय उम्मीदवार ने घोषणा की है, यदि वे चुनाव जीते तो यूक्रेन को आर्थिक और सैन्य मदद फौरन बंद कर नाटो से संबंध तोड़ लेंगे। अगले साल होने वाले अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति के चुनाव में यह मुद्दा ही निर्णायक होगा। अमेरिकी राजनीति और कूटनीति से भारतीय विदेश नीति किसी भी प्रकार से मेल नहीं खाती और विशेषकर रूस नाटो युद्ध में हमारी भूमिका तटस्थ है और इस तटस्थता का अर्थ कोई चुप्पी नहीं है। इसका मतलब है कि हम इस युद्ध में अमेरिका के साथ नहीं हैं। हम नेहरू इंदिरा की नीतियों का देश में कितना भी विरोध करें, परंतु विदेश में वे ही हमारी मार्गदर्शक है। विश्व धर्म संसद के हॉल के बाहर भी अनेक मुद्दों पर संवाद एवं चर्चाएं हुई हैं, जिनमें भी मुझे भाग लेने का सौभाग्य मिला। उनमें से एक थी वर्तमान संदर्भ में शांतिपूर्ण अहिंसक परिवर्तन से मानवीय समस्याओं का समाधान। कुछ भी कहें, पर इस संसद के बहाने दुनिया भर में नित्य प्रति होने वाले घटनाक्रम को जानने और समझने का अवसर तो मिला है। मैं आपका धन्यवाद करता हूं कि आपने मुझे अवसर दिया, परंतु मैं इस बात को भी कहना चाहूंगा कि इस तरह की विश्व धर्म संसद जिसमें अगर कोई बहुसंख्यक धर्म का नुमाइंदगी सरकारी ढंग से और अंधराष्ट्रवाद और सांप्रदायिकता के ढंग से करे तो वह उत्तम नहीं होगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद रामन जी, बहुत ही सार्थक तरीके से आपने जो पूरी की पूरी संसद की कार्रवाई रही और जो अनुभव हमको भी एक नई तरह की दे रहा है, जो बहुत ही जिज्ञासा के साथ हम संसद के सत्य को समझना है और लोकतंत्र और संवाद के साथ साथ सामंजस्य, जिसको कहते हैं सिविलाइजेशनल डायलॉग की जो परंपरा है, उसको कैसे, और उसमें हमारी एक विरासत है जो स्वामी विवेकानंद से लेके चली आ रही। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अब मैं निवेदन करता हूँ सुधीर गंधोत्रा जी से कि वो 2 मिनट में अपना वक्तव्य दे और आ, अंतिम वक्तव्य के रूप में प्रोफेसर मीरा चक्रवर्ती जी से मैं अनुरोध करूंगा जी।
रणधीर जी, वीर साहब की बात पूरी नहीं हुई, वो ना सुन
अ,
ली जाए।
और वीर साहब से संपर्क हमारा टूट चुका है, तो हम कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। तब तक आप अपना वक्तव्य जारी रखें।
मैं इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में नहीं गया था, लेकिन लोगों से उनके अनुभव सुन के बहुत कुछ पता लगा। सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और सबको नमस्कार। और रणधीर जी, आपको ऑर्गेनाइजर्स को धन्यवाद कि आपने मुझे बोलने का मौका दिया। मैं बिना माफ़ी मांगे हुए कुछ स्ट्रॉन्ग चीज़ें कहना चाहूँगा और 2 मिनट से ज़्यादा का समय नहीं लूँगा। मुझे लगता है कि आज जो शांति की ज़रूरत है और जो अशांति फैली हुई है, उसके इंटरेस्ट में अगर सारे धर्म वाले लोग अपनी धर्म की दुकान को बंद कर दें और कुछ सालों के लिए सिख धर्म के लोगों की तरह सब जगह लंगर चलाएं, सेवा करें और फील्ड में निकल के जिसको जो चीज़ की ज़रूरत है वो करें, तो शायद दुनिया में शांति बड़ी जल्दी आ जाएगी। इस प्रार्थना के साथ मैं अपनी बात को यहीं ख़त्म करता हूँ। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
I request Professor Meera Chakravarti for her final remark. हम लोग थोड़ा समय ज़्यादा ले लिए हैं, इसलिए हम निवेदन करेंगे कि उनका ध्यान रखें। और प्रोफेसर मीरा चक्रवर्ती।
हाँ, ये मैं सुधीर जी के साथ एकमत हूँ कि सचमुच सब लोग दुकान बंद कर दें। Yeah, but I have to also point out to one thing after listening to all that. I don't know whether Ananta is gone or run away or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, those who talk about divisive policies or strategies are clearly political. And this distinction we must make, Vijaylakshmi, that Swamiji was not political, was not representing political organization, was not talking political. He was talking purely from the spiritual perspective, which take it in any religion includes all people. You take Baha'i, you take Sikh, you take Nanak Ji, you take any religion. The spiritual perspective is always has included people, but it is the political strategies which will include religion as a tool to divide to gain votes. So, and the spiritual perspective with never align with this kind of a religious perspective which tries to divide and gain vote. And therefore we will have to see that the issue that the word that is used is that the conscious in the flyer that is used. So Swamiji tried to raise the consciousness of people to have this inclusivity with us, which I think, as Sudhirji has said, none of because they have this. I mean, in Langar there is no politics. The Langar will see everybody as the humanitarian cause, and they would do it. In that way, Ramakrishna Ashram mission has been doing that. They would go to the place where other people cannot go, and have done so much of work for humanity. So if that is if this is kept in mind, I think the Ambedkar ji said that I respect my master Buddha, and therefore I am